allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thanks everyone for being here this evening. First up, recognition of visitors.
Looks like we got a couple of student activities presenters, and looks like we got a few government students waiting for the last minute to get their meeting up.
Excellent. Glad you're here.
Some of them claim proudly and others.
Awards recognition and correspondence.
Today.
Okay, adjustments to the agenda.
Nope.
None of those either.
None of those either.
We are on
Why?
the roll.
We're almost done.
Yeah. Public comment on non-agenda items. Okay, none of those. I don't have any slips. First up, our consent agenda, which is the meeting minutes of November 2025, as well as the HR report. Hopefully everyone had a chance to look at those. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda and HR report. I'll say.
All right, any discussion? None? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Coming up, the next fiscal overview.
We are trucking along. Everything looks fantastic. We are coming in just where we need to be for our property taxes. So that's good news that it's all coming in where they expected and where we budgeted at. Obviously, the auditors aren't here this month. They all had the crud go through their office, and so they will be here next month. But everything looks good. They're just waiting on one more piece to finish for GASB, and then they'll be done. If you have any questions, how does it look? Someone have questions on checks? There's a lot of them, again, because we're doing a bond payment, and there's lots of payments.
The same camera.
The standard lease, sure, that word, is for the buses that we had leased originally. Those are the lease payments for the buses.
And Mark, since you're new to the board, we used to have page upon page of checks, and we just decided that we pare it down to just the checks of $1,000 or more. Obviously, if you ever have any questions about anything else.
Have seen.
Yeah.
I like to tell people things. Wait, that sounded wrong.
Anyone else have any other questions for Corey? Thank you. On to reports and discussions. First up, 8.1, the student body reports.
Hello, school board and guests. I'm Kyra Super, our high school's communication officer. Starting off, we have our winter sports. Both games and meets have just begun this week, or this past week. Girls basketball, their current record is 2-1, and then the boys are 3-0. All games last night ended up in major wins. Varsity girls winning 39-25, and the varsity boys winning 65-24. Our next games for all our high school basketball teams are this Friday against Crestwell. Moving on to wrestling, they recently attended the Willie Wilkerson tournament in Glide on December 6th. According to the coach, that went pretty well. The wrestling team competed hard, with 2 girls winning in their weight class, and then 4 wrestlers placed second, 2 girls and 2 boys, and then 3 more male wrestlers also placed at the tournament. Tonight, the wrestlers had recently got back from the Oakland versus Myrtle Point duel in Myrtle Point. I will follow up with how that went next month. And then closing organizations, FFA placed 3rd in state ag sales last month, with Hannah Matweg, Leah Silva, and Morgan Swearing just placing in the top 10 for individuals. Then along with that came a visit from our Oregon FFA state president, Alex Wise, and state secretary, Lydia Kirkshape. On November 20th, these two officers came to our high school and led workshops for students enrolled in Mr. Kaiser's ag classes. Also, this past weekend, FFA hosted Adopt a Family shopping to shop for needy families, as well as giving members an opportunity for volunteer hours. Then also, there was Candy Cane Lane held at Washington Gym, which also gave members another opportunity for volunteer hours. And there will be more of that opportunity for members to get their more hours this Friday and Saturday as well. Then, as an NHS member, I'd like to report that we've had both our monthly meetings for last month and this month. Last month consisted of a discussion of our yearly project being altered to now assisting the backpack program provided by our school district, and then also just getting our members into the NHS database. Then this month, we discussed how our chapter will be raising money for funds, which is the hot cocoa and cider bar, which is being held next week. Student leadership raised approximately $75 through our Penny Wars program, which will go towards helping supply the backpack program. Along with that, we started an attendance challenge to promote students to either maintain their percentage of missed minutes or lower it to under 5 to 10%, depending on the student. For those who do meet their goal, students will be rewarded with a $5 Dutch Bros gift card. Then students who keep up to perfect attendance until the end of the semester will be entered into a drawing for a gift card of a larger amount of for their choice of location. Then we will continue keeping monthly activities rolling for the month of December. And then we have our 12 Days of Holiday Fun Challenge. The form is available in our office window for students to pick up. Then additionally, we have a Holiday Spirit Week taking place next week, consisting of activities all day, lunch activities, and then dress-up days. November's woodworking activities for the after-school program were a great success. As mentioned last month, students created a variety of wood gifts for the holidays. For December, we offered an art-based project inspired by artists from all around the world, plus continued opportunities to get help from the library with their homework. Overall, the past month has been a great success. And then adding on, today we hosted a blood drive, which was open to both students, staff, and community members. It was a pretty big success. We had a couple students go and volunteer for the day, and it went pretty well, if I do say so myself. And then we'll just be continuing our success moving into the final lap of our semester. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, middle school.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sophia Squigley, and I'm a 7th grader. Things at Lincoln are going great. Our second quarter is moving right along, and midterms are tomorrow. I can't believe that we are already halfway through the second quarter. The boys' basketball season is almost over. The B team tournament is this weekend at North Douglas, and the A team is undefeated thus far. They have clinched a spot at the A tournament on the 20th. We also have several kids excited because girls basketball and wrestling will start after break. They have already started signing up. There are some really fun things going on at Lincoln right now. First, our winter and band concert is tonight. Our students have a great lineup of songs that we are going to play and sing. It should be a night filled with festive fun. Also, the Lincoln leadership team is currently hosting the 12 Days of Christmas to inspire good attendance and to bring some winter cheer to Lincoln. During the weeks of school in December, the students are able to participate in fun winter activities. So far, the students have had candy cane tree toss, where kids throw candy cane ornaments at the Christmas tree and got a treat for each one that stayed on the tree. A snowball relay, Christmas karaoke, hot cocoa for sale at recess, holiday freeze dance, a wrapping paper runway competition, and they were given a cookie. We still have a week of dress ups planned for next week. Thank you for having me. I hope you have a nice break and a wonderful Christmas.
Thank you. Thank both of you for your reports, and certainly we wouldn't be cool enough to make you stay at the meeting, so you're both excused. You're both welcome to stay, but by all means, if you've got more important things to do, feel free. Thanks again for coming. 8.2, our principal council reports. They're in your packet. If anyone has any questions, now's the time to fire away. You had a yo-yo. Was it an assembly?
Yes, it was an assembly. We've had it now for the past 3 or 4 years, and it's just teaching the kids the Ned show, so never give up, encourage others, and do your best. And then we open the tag zone, and we have yo-yos for purchase, but I also supply with our fundraiser money, and we buy everybody a yo-yo. Did have children tell me this year, these are very cheap. Last year was better. Plain Amazon. So anyways, yeah, they love it. It's great. And we're signed up to do it again next year. I did not add in because I didn't realize that it was happening until you walk down the halls and it looks like Christmas is everywhere. The teachers are doing a door decoration. So I have a little trophy set aside. That's what I'm trying to decide how to make them vote. You guys have any?
I volunteer as tribute.
They're pretty amazing. You should check them out if you're, they're going to finish them up Friday, but there's quite a few that are hilarious. One has a reindeer that. It's good, all in good things.
Any questions? I don't have a whole lot to add. I will put in, I know she referenced it, Kyra did, and then it's in my report, but district-wide, the Teachers Association did a food drive, and then we're coupling that with some of the grant money to, I think we have 25 families that were giving some of the food from the food drive, but also holiday meals and turkeys and the whole fixings and other fresh produce, as well as some gift certificates, so they can go continue to supplement their food need over the holiday break. So I think we're at 25, and so this conference room is going to be in this next week as we have boxes set up. And then on top of that, FFA has 5 families that are also receiving gifts. So yeah, just that's 25 throughout the district. Pretty big.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you for your reports. 8.3, the custodial maintenance report. That's also in your packet. If you have any questions, please ask away. Otherwise, we'll move on to 8.4, the facility report.
Facilities are moving along. Lots of, it's less busy than it was during the summer, but still very crazy right now. Quick rundown on everything. Our phase 1 LMS, that's the one we did 3 years ago, is done. The hoop broke last year. The new hoop we put in, we're waiting for that fix on it. We were going to fix it ourselves, but since we have the company coming in and putting the new hoops up in the new gym, we're just going to have them pop over and do it. And they are going to do that over Christmas. They're scheduled to be here over Christmas break. So then we'll be able to finally check that off. Wood and metal storage area, we're done with that. That turned out awesome, even better than we expected. Got both buildings in there, got the roll-up doors, and then we got the fence in there. And there, he's just starting to. We got the sawmill moved underneath the cover, and he's starting to get it unpacked and get going on that. Phase 2 at LMS, the 5.6, we finished most of that last summer, but we did have a flooring issue that has been there since the summer before last. They are scheduled to come in over break. They're gonna tear that out and redo it, and so that will be redone. And it's still warranty work. We haven't approved it yet, so the warranty hasn't started yet. I mean, as soon as they put it in, we saw the issues with it, and we ended up putting it off to when we were going to do it last summer. Decided to wait because of all the traffic on it already, and we knew it was bad. So they're redoing it over Christmas. If we are satisfied with it afterwards, then we'll have. I'm pretty sure it's a 1-year warranty on it, but that warranty does not start until we're satisfied and we check off that it's adequate. So we just have tiles peeling up and so forth. They did a bunch of work on the fire system on Friday, getting that up to par. I think we're good to go. We were coded and allowed to be in there, but they were essentially putting up they had to get the old pole switches and other things that they had to get. They got those and we're putting them in place on Friday. Gym seismic, phase one on that done, lobby's done. We're waiting for two small things, a lock on the roll-up door that we put in on the back of the laundry room. We need a lock for that, so we're waiting for that. And then we are waiting for the two doors that they put in going in from the gym lobby to the short hall, brand new doors. They were supposed to be 4 hinge doors and they, for some reason, sent 3 hinge doors and the doors are pretty heavy for those hinges. So they got some support hinges that they're putting on there. Also supposed to do that over break. And then phase 2 was still set and on schedule for this summer. As soon as the kids leave on Thursday, teachers down on Friday, on Monday, they will start pulling the roof off. We do the roof, pull the roof off, do a little bit of shoring, new roof, and then they'll do the lights, then they'll do the floor. We ended up, we finished phase 2, or phase 1. I mean, we got that closed out because we broke the grant into 2 pieces. We ended up about $60,000 under budget in the phase 1. So we're going to be able to carry that over. We knew going in, redoing the floor, which really had to be done. We couldn't get it completely in the grant. We have money for floor covering, so we couldn't get so we knew it was going to cost us about $100,000 to do it, 100 to 150. And that 60 is going to go towards that. So it's going to be less money. We're still going to end up paying some money from the district, but much less than we thought. So that's 60,000 under on phase 1. Maybe we get lucky and phase 2 comes in at 60,000 under as well. We'll see. But so right now we finished ahead of the game with that. And the fact that we came in 60,000 under budget in the lobby looks as good as it does. And a massive makeover there, that was huge. Came at the expense of really we didn't do anything in the locker rooms besides lights. So, but that was going to be too expensive and we weren't going to be able to break into that. Softball field's moving along. It has been put on the back burner because McKinsey's really been scrambling to pick up slack over on the gym. They are assured me repeatedly, and they know the consequences otherwise, that they'll be done by mid-February. They've already started. They got the wrap pads done in, I think, 2 of the holes, but it's a process because the holes are 3 foot by 11 feet deep. So they got to suck all the water out of them, which takes a while. And then they got to get the pads poured. Once they do that, I think they're hoping for, they're really missing a great weather window to do it. But I think they're hoping for either next week or the week after to get the poles set. Once the poles are set, they'll get them all set in place. They'll do the cement for those, do the cement for the footings. Then they'll put the pads in, and then it'll be less than 2 weeks for them to build the dugouts and build the fence up. So that's on track to be done on time. Area behind the track is done. We've got our last 2 bills from Benzel's this week, and we got those paid, I think, today. So we are closed out there and done. We still have it blocked off. We're going to keep it blocked off through the spring until it dries out, and then then we'll open it up because we really want that grass to take hold and get that set. So that turned out awesome as well. As you saw when you pulled up, the walking path between Lincoln or between OMS and OHS is starting in mid-November. They just haven't got there. Not sure why. I've been emailing and talking with Lori from the city that's running it. It's a city project. It's not our project, even though it's on our property. So we're there. She's running it. She's hoping to. She hasn't got back to me, but when we talked last week, and the week before, we talked about, well, you're close. You might as well wait till Christmas break. That way you don't have to work on that because we were only going to let her grind the road on Friday, and there were some restrictions around pickup and drop off time. So we're hoping that they wait till Christmas break and are able to get it in. The guy from Oklahoma Sand and Gravel that was over here, that's the project manager for it, said really from start to finish, he thought it'd be a 2-week project. And so I'd be able to fit it in over break, even though obviously with the holidays in there, it's not a full 2 weeks. And then Washington, I did hear from Ben, which is good. I was wondering, as our real estate agent, he shot me an email and just said, hey, it's sitting. He said there's not a whole lot of movement. He sent me a couple of there's no real comparable lot to that right now, and some that are Oaklands for sale. There's some that are a lot bigger and some that are smaller, but he says he thinks we're still smart to leave it right where he said he feels like it's priced right. It's just going to sit for a minute until things pick up. So, and at this point, we are essentially going to, when we do sell that, we're planning on taking that dollars and putting it directly into our facility, kind of to offset the cost. Obviously not going to pay for it, but help offset the cost of the field renovations over there. So that fund is still sitting fine. Now that we got our last bills in from themselves, we're really going to look at it and figure out where we're going from there. But that will backfill. That might not be till next year, but if it happens, it happens. We're not at this point hurting for that money, so good that it's sitting. Then OHS classroom seismic. Last two things. It is in the planning phases. We did the page turn last Wednesday. I was gone for that, so I wasn't able to be there, but they did the page turn. We talked through some things. They did a walkthrough. We kind of sent them back home with Alan and I had walked through and talked about what kind of their plans were before we did the page turn. They're essentially putting, if you're standing in front of the high school as part of the seismic right now, that wall right along, if you're standing in front of it and about to walk in the door, the wall to the right, which is all brick, that's coming out and going to be replaced. The entryway is all going to be replaced as well. And then the wall, exterior wall of the office to the edge of Rachel's office is all going to be replaced. From there, the rest of the way down, they were just doing some window infills as part of the seismic. Every so far, they had to take a window out and put some reinforcement beams up. So we said, well, if you have to do that, you have to support the roof the whole way down. Maybe it makes more sense to just take that entire front wall out, because we know as soon as we pull into those windows, they're rotten. We know that wood's rotten and we have to address it. The big fear of getting into these seismics, what you're going to find. So we basically sent them with a plan to give us, so we sent the engineers back to do some redesigning, and we sent McKinsey back to do some price, put together some price totals for us to see what's most cost effective. And then on the back side in the, I say they're new windows, they're 20 years. Oh no, they're almost 20 years old. I think 2008 is when we replaced the windows on the back side in the courtyard area. They also have to do some infills there. That's too much window. They got to pull essentially some pylons up in there. So some of those windows are going to go away. So far, not knowing what this is going to look like, we're still looking pretty solid on that budget. We made some changes, and it does look like we're going to be able to address the bathrooms, much like we did the lobby. We think the current plan, we're going to essentially take the boys' bathroom, which is on the high school hillside, and we're going to pull that wall out next to the library and move it down about X number of feet and make that kind of the same bathroom like the lobby is. And then the other side, we'll take the bathroom out and turn that into some office space or so we have for some of the people, because we're not only lacking storage space around, we're lacking office space for a lot of behavioral health people and the evergreen people, all the other things we have, and we don't have spaces to put it. So that'll help solve that as well. So feel like we're moving there. I would say with these changes that we're putting in there, though, there's no way this is going to be a one summer project. They will have to phase it into 2 summers, and we'll see what that looks like. Because the roof is so big and there's so much to it, how we're going to phase that in. So that's still to be determined. That's what we'll be doing over the next month or two, trying to get that done. Our hope is to have our 100% SDs and ready to go and get permitting and do everything, so we are ready to start when school's out. I think there's still a possibility that we might be able to do some of the attic work in the spring while school's going on and do some swing shift stuff with them, but we'll see. That's to be determined. And if we do it in 2, we might not have to do that at all if we're going to do 2 summers anyway. So still to be determined. And then lastly, the gym. It's moving, and it's moving fast. And I keep trying to tell myself that and not be frustrated that it's taking longer than we had anticipated, even though our anticipated schedule was ultra aggressive. We were really shooting for that Christmas. And I think I told you guys last time, maybe it was facilities committee that we had pushed back. We're into January. We did get power in there. We were scheduled to get it on the 8th. We ended up getting it last week. So that was really ahead of schedule. So that was exciting. A few hiccups along there, but as always, when you just such a tight schedule, one little piece, it's like a massive game of Jenga. One little piece comes out and everything changes to the schedule. And so our windows because our hope was we were moving along the entryway, they got all the metal up and they were supposed to throw glass up and we were going to get heat in there. So we have now a bunch of portable heat in the lower area. So I walked through today and they had all that stuff mudded, first coat of mud on there. So tiles all done. Mud is up on the first coat down below, and they have portable heaters in there. The big box though is we still got still got some windows to put in. We have them visqueened right now. A lot of windows are in, but the entryway is not. The windows aren't coming in until the 22nd. We're really going to tighten up the schedule with our flooring. This flooring is supposed to be delivered on January 2nd to drop in there to sit for a week to a week and a half to acclimate. Has to have heat in there by then. We have to have heat before that. So they're working on the heat process because they need to get all of the upper. They have the first they did the first coat of mud on all the upper sheetrock, but they can't finish that until we get heat in there. Once that's done, then they got to put in all the finished plywood down below. Then they got to get the basket supports and all that stuff up. Then we'll get the floor in there. Once the floor is in, it sits for a week and a half, and they'll still be able to do some work in there while the floor's sitting there acclimating. They'll be able to work around it. Then get the floor laid, get it painted, get it finished, then put the stage up, put the bleachers up, and we should be done. So I found out just today some stuff that was about the windows being pushed back to the 22nd. So I'll find out more on what the schedule looks like tomorrow. My guess is end of January is now probably turned into the first week of February, the end of the second week of February. We had high hopes of trying to get that at least the second half of that middle school girls basketball season in there so we could kind of troubleshoot the gym and see, hey, host a little bit and see what we need to fix. I'd say that's questionable now. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But regardless, moving in a good space. We're making really good headway. They were starting to get the roof, the final piece of the roof on there. I mean, it's watertight in, obviously, but getting the final piece of the roof laid out and move the stuff inside. So it's still moving along well. It's just got a few hiccups along the way. And then lastly, I'd say for facilities, because I think I said this to you guys last month, we are at that place now that we got the last bills from Vincel, so that project's done. We will look and basically make the choices on what our next projects are. We think that we want to finish that and do the bathrooms across the way and the safety vestibule entryway at Lincoln or OMS will be our next, those two projects. Then we'll finish up softball. And at that point, then we'll probably take stock of where we're at with everything. Closing up the budget season then to probably just put a halt on things and see where we're at. We've been doing that hefty move into facilities the last 2 or 3 years. We'll have to be able to see where the budget plays out. So that's where we're at with facilities. Any questions?
Big business.
That's a yes, a lot to juggle.
8.5 superintendent report.
Middle school concerts still going, I guess. We'll know when it's over when Connor rolls in. Although he might just be taking it out there now. I'm gonna close down and pick up chairs, but and then we got the elementary concert on Monday. That's a 5 o'clock start, and then the high school concert is next Wednesday, 7 o'clock start. I'm a little bit all over the place. I didn't put an order on this. I put some things down and then started filling in the blanks. So I am a little all over the place in my report, but found out this morning at our county soups meeting. Actually, I think I got an email last night from the Small Schools Association, but the Secure Rural School Funding, which is a federal grant that had been, they stopped funding back in the end of 23. And that was put in place had been put in place. They couldn't even say when it was. I think 90s, 80s now. I don't know how long it's been around. Long time. Anyway, the federal government stopped funding it. That was put in play for school districts and other entities that live in counties that have a ton of federal forest land, so there's no taxation on that. So we don't get as much tax coming into our school districts, fire districts. I think there's some city and county stuff. Lots of people get a piece of that pie. But they stopped funding it at the end of 23. So in 24 and 25, there was no funding for it. Well, it was a hit for us, not a huge one, but it had passed the Senate unanimously twice, and it never came to a vote in the House. Finally came to a vote in the House last night, passed it overwhelmingly, and so now it's heading to the president's desk. If he signs it, it goes into play, and part of it is retroactive. So they are going to pay us for 24 and 25, and then we'll get 26. It's only funded through the end of 26, so they'll determine after that. It's 25,000 for us per year, so it'll be 75,000 for us that we have already moved past it, not going, so we'll just take that money and dump it into a general fund. Whatever. But that's still good news. Said it was 75,000 for us, which is great, but I know that like Bakersfield, their school districts, and it was in millions, so it was a massive game changer for them. Couple of oversight things going on. December 19th, pupil transportation and fingerprinting unit from ODE will be here to basically give a audit of our transportation department, and so they'll be in here. That is next week. End of next week, they'll be here. They go through all of our bus driver records, all the records we do on our fingerprinting, background checks, CDLs, bus maintenance, all those things. So it's essentially getting an audit over our transportation. I've talked to Mike about it. He says we're ready to go. He assures me we are all set, and we got to pass that. So that's right. Bond Oversight Committee is going well. We have our next meeting on January 8th, right after Christmas break. It's going well. They're doing a good job. They've been giving some good input as we went through the process, and seems to be going well there. I think I can't remember the timing of it. Did I say at the last board meeting about the Cow Creek grant that we got? Did I talk to you guys about that or not? The food grant. So they talked about when SNAP was unfunded for October and November, Cow Creek reached out to the schools and said, hey, are you guys planning on delivering meals over Christmas break if SNAP's still out? And my response was pretty direct. No, if SNAP is back in play, we are not. But if it is not, yes, we will figure out a way, which would harken back to COVID days when we got our families to sign up for it, and when we brought people in over during COVID and made lunches and delivered them out to 3 or 4 different drop places around the county. Massive lift for us, and it's super, super difficult. So we were going to do that over Christmas break. And I said, if the SNAP is back in place, we're not doing that. And he said, well, why don't you give me some totals on what it would be if you were going to do it? And I said, okay. So I put it together, and it was about $10,000 worth of food, so I sent it to him and said, based on this is how I came to this is what a meal costs, this is what it's going to cost to put us together. It's going to be about $10,000 in food. I said, that doesn't even touch our labor costs, because I got to pay people to come in and deliver it, got to pay people to come in and put it all together, order it, pick it up, all those things. So I said, labor will probably be double that. So I said, but in big capital letters, we're not doing this if SNAP is back in place. Sent it off. I think 2 days later, SNAP was reinstated. 2 days after that, he sent me an email and said, congratulations. When can I deliver your check for $21,000? And I said, we're not doing this. And he said, we don't care. Get it to your families however you want. So he delivered the check, took some pictures, and so we took that $21,000. That's what Rachel was referring to with her families. So our high school and our ag department and then our OT, our teachers union this year did a food drive too because of the SNAP stuff. So we had all that stuff. They've already done that. So we essentially added on to that, or a big chunk of that. We added about 8 to 10,000 of about half of it went to that. So we added way more food to it. Added some food cards from Sherm's, made them so there were no alcohol, lottery, and tobacco, but food and household products that they need. So we're doing some cards with that, and then we're taking the other half and we're partnering with the Lions Club in Sutherland, Oakland Lions Club, and doing starting up a backpack program So we're essentially buying a bunch of backpacks and filling those with food that can just be grabbed by kids over the weekend. So Lions Club's going to help. We're taking the other 10,000 to kind of help kickstart that program, and then the Lions Club's going to help financially support that as we move forward. So that's what we did with that. So I couldn't remember if I talked to you guys about that, but because it was right around last month's meeting. But really exciting, and the kid that brought it to me was a Days Creek graduate that was a basketball player there. So he knew me, he knew Oakland. He was super glad to help, and I think I know they didn't do every district in the county, but they did over half of them, and it was very impactful. So really cool. And then I said 21,000. He said, "Here you go." I should have said 210,000. So it worked out good. The Acorn to Oak Foundation, I just bring that up because that is also going strong. We've had a couple meetings with them. We have to have 4 meetings a year. It would have been nice to know when I agreed to be on the board for that. But we did have our meeting the other day, and we met with the OCF, the Oregon Community Fund, or Oregon Community Foundation, and we were partnering up with them because we've already collected about $60,000 in there. So we're taking, I think we ended up saying we're going to take 30 of that and go maybe it was 50. Anyway, we're taking a big chunk and going right into the Oregon, the Community Foundation, and they're going to invest it. That's what they do, is invest money for nonprofits. So they get a much bigger return than we do. They have bigger chunks of money to go with. So we're going to go with them. And then, so anyway, things are going really well there. Again, we're thinking big picture. I mean, we still have some details to work out, but I think our thumbnail plan of that is we want to get the foundation up to about $100,000 in a working account that we could grab some small projects if we needed to for the district. But the bigger idea being we're working towards, millions to essentially build new buildings when the time comes. And it works out fine because all of our sites links, we got to inhabit those buildings for 10 years as part of the grant. I don't think we'll be in the $30 million for a new high school anytime soon, but it will be on a good pace. So that money is building, and word's getting out. We've had, I think we have 3 people now that are doing the, I'm butcher the acronym, but the mandatory deduction you got to take out of your 401k or whatever your things are. When you're 70, you have to take a certain amount out every year. Must be around 15 or 16,000 because that's about the amount you get in donation. So there's 2 or 3 people that are taking that mandatory deduction and dumping it right into the foundation. We already have one person that's already has went through the process to put their entire estate in there when she passes, which that's going to be, that'll be $500,000 probably by the time that's all said and done. So I think the word's getting out. We're getting more people jumping on board. So while that was a massively huge lift, it's been great. We're in a good place there. Speaking of audits, we have our food service audit in January. I would say that our cafeteria staff is extremely stressed out over that. But we're having that audit. They're coming on site on January 27th. We do a lot of the work with that beforehand, getting all the paperwork and stuff in, and they actually come on site on the 27th. But through that process, we have to do a ton of info to them. We've done all that, and as part of it, she's coming back with, "Hey, I see this. Just so you know, this will be a finding if you're still doing it when we get there on January 27th." So one of the things that we have to change is we've been we're currently part of that program where all of our students are eating for free for the next 3 years. Where I think we're in year 1 of that, right? Is this year 1 or is it year 2? Year 2. So for 2 more years. So the rest of this year and the next 2 years, all of our kids K-12 eat for free. So there's no free and reduced at this point. Everybody eats for free. We've always, as part of our cafeteria program, we've allowed the adults that work here to buy lunches there. They don't get them for free. Even now that everyone else is getting it for free, they still have to pay for them. Currently, we're paying we're charging them $3.75, which is still a screaming deal for a good, nice school lunch. That has to raise to $5.15, part of the laws that we weren't aware of. So we are making that change. We looked in our policies. Our policies just say they're going to be priced. So you guys in your infinite wisdom did not put a dollar sign in there, which is good because we have to change that every year. And I did see enough of your policies. So we are raising that up to $5.15, and we're going to start that. We're going to staff this week and start that after break. So we'll have it done by the time the 27th comes along. So we'll be in compliance by then. So all good there. From a bigger school standpoint, or I guess statewide reclassification is done. It goes to the OSA board next Monday. I've seen the final draft. I testified 2 meetings ago. We are staying in 2A. Everything's going to stay basically the same. Our league will be the same. We did swap out Illinois Valley's going back up to 3A, and North Douglas is moving up into 2A, so they'll be in our league. So, which is great. Trade out a 2-hour and 20-minute trip for a half-hour trip. So that's awesome. And then they added about 8 schools. They dropped the 1A number down from 74 to 65, so that pushed about 8 to 10 1A schools up to 2A. North Douglas happened to be one of them, so we ended up. I had talked to you guys 2 meetings ago or 3 meetings ago. I don't know what it was when they had reached out and asked if I would sit back on the executive board at OSA again. They ended up appointing somebody else for that, which was fine. But when they reached back out and asked if I would chair the OSA State Championship Committee, which starts next month, I made the assumption that you guys would be okay with me doing that. It's only 6 meetings. So I am chairing that committee. I'm not excited about being a chair of it, but so that starts up, and that one essentially is a pretty big deal. It goes always on the tail of the classification. So it's how many teams we're putting in the state playoffs, what those venues look like, what the formats look like, and we're making a massive change. We have some classifications that are getting 64% of their schools make it to the state playoffs. That's going to drop down to like 40%, 35%. So some people are going to be very upset about it. So it's going to be a highly contested classification. Luckily, there's only 6 meetings, so it shouldn't take too long. They are, because I'm chairing them, I have to be there in person. So it's essentially 6 Mondays that I will go up. I'll just get up early and drive up to Wilsonville and do the meeting, and then usually finish by 2-ish, and then I'll hustle back. So anyway, I'll be out in the building on some Mondays. And then last thing, I'm going to follow up. I said it last time. It's worth saying again because we've had another couple of incidents. I mean, our staff are stressed right now. We have some really high flying behavior kids in all 3 buildings. And middle school and elementary school have the are probably right now the toughest, but the high school has a few walking around as well, and it's putting its stress on staff. Us having to, from an admin perspective, we got to follow the laws. The laws do not necessarily favor the staff over the students, so that's put us in a difficult position. So we are navigating that as best we can, but it is stressful. We're ready for, I think, break and get the kids away for 2 weeks, get the staff away for 2 weeks, and let them recharge. So hopefully they come back in January, things will be in a better place. That's where we're at.
Is there anything we can help with?
Well, I think anything you guys can do to let the staff know that you're supporting them, let them know that you understand the difficulty. I don't need to bore you with all the details of, but essentially the students that we have many, the entire nation, but we'll stick to the state of Oregon, has many kids that have been through difficult times and have emotional and traumatic experiences, and it comes out in their behavior. COVID exemplified that and made it worse. And so now we're trying to get them back in. And it went from things used to be bad. Now kids are more apt to put their hands on staff, and that is causing some difficulties. And we don't have the ability to be quite so decisive in our responses from a discipline standpoint anymore. That pendulum has shifted away from us, and it's stressful. So I think anything you guys can do to support them and just let them know, hey, you know it's difficult. You appreciate all the hard work they do, because our staff is awesome. They do so much, so many amazing things, and it's stressful for them too. They bear the brunt of it as well. The principals have to take it and hear it, and it's a hard time. And so I think anything you guys can do, I know that may sound lame, but just hearing from you guys that you know what they're going through, and you appreciate their hard work, and that you appreciate all the things that they do. It's
Questions?
that was long. Sorry, I'll make next month shorter.
big later on. One of the questions pertain to this, so. That's not the grant.
The SIA, yeah, that's gonna, I have that on the thing, so on 8.7, if that's what you're talking about, the grant that's in here.
Next up then is the enrollment report, 8.6. Looks like the numbers are trending high still.
Yeah, and that's, I suppose, I mean, a good problem to have, but still a massive problem. And it's a little annoying because it's proving me wrong. But the numbers below support what I've said for the last 4 months. Generally, by now, we've dropped 40 students, and we are not dropping. We've dropped 13 students, and that's not entirely true. We probably got 25, but we've gotten new kids in that time. So our overall number is not smaller. We currently have eight grade levels closed. I think there's 8. So we closed. It's not like we still have our doors open and we're taking them. So these kids that we're getting now are move-in kids. And they moved in our district and we don't have any choice. We can't close our doors to them. So our number is higher than it's been. Still, so good problem to have, and we are going to be more proactive. We probably will start next year with, I would venture a guess, 4 to 5 grade levels closed to start the year. So we just, and we don't have a shortage of people that want to come. Those doors are closed and we've had to tell people no. They're still calling and they're still asking, even though it says it on our website and it says it on the interdistrict form we filled out. But it's just how it is. We've got to serve the kids. They're all our kids, even when they come in, we still treat them as ours, but we've got to serve the ones we got. So that's why we have our doors closed in so many areas.
All right, so next up is the SIA grant, I believe. 8.7.
So it said 1 of 28. We didn't stick all 28 pages in there because a lot of it was not worth. It wasn't worth your. I mean, you're always welcome to it if you'd like me to give you those 28 pages. But we kept the highlights in there. So it tells you what the grant is. SIA is off of the corporate activity tax that came out 4 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe longer, 5 years ago. So when I talk integrated guidance and I whine about that, about how hard that project or that report is, it's because it had the SIA is the biggest one that's in there. Measure 98, Student Success Act is in there. Those are our two. There's 6 grants that are rolled in there. Those are our 2 biggest ones by a long stretch. I mean, you see, we're up to almost $700,000 a year that we're getting in SIA dollars. The Measure 98 dollars run around $200,000, and they're very like SIA. SIA is less specific than Measure 98. Measure 98 is only 3 areas, and that's it. SIA is a little broader. And we've put most of that into SEL in some capacity. So spending about $700,000 a year. Well, I don't have an itemized budget for you in my head. I can tell you we've added a counselor at the elementary school, a counselor at the middle school. We added a Title I a 504 coordinator. So essentially a 4th SPED teacher that does all of our 504s for all 3 buildings and manages those, which took that off of the plates of our 3 SPED teachers, because as we'll get to the report card and show that we're at 20% right now with special needs students, which is a big number. So we did those 4 positions. We added a boatload of IAs in every building. We have, and then we do some safety and security things. We pay for a behavior skills trainer and a behavior instructional assistant that we contract through BSD for each year. So we have that in there as well. I'd say that's the bulk of it. And we have some safety stuff in there as well. So that's what that money goes for. The reason that this is in front of you, it's the first time we've done this. I know it's the first time we've done it because I went back and looked. But when I got the grant agreement, I signed it, I turned it back in, they kicked it back to us and said, oh, you got to have the board approve this. This go about this a new thing. No, you do this every year. Well, we do not, or we haven't. We are now. So this is just really, it's an informational. We talk about it because you do have to approve the integrated guidance. And on that one, it's every other year. and you guys can break down all the things that we're doing. So this is just a portion of it. I don't know if I answered your question in there or not, Mark, but
Yeah. The one part is during COVID, a lot of the money that got dumped into schools went to hiring staff. The COVID money went away. Now you got the staff problem. This is probably not
yeah.
as temporary as COVID money.
Right, and so for us, we were very diligent when we got all three of those COVID dumps to us. We never hired any staff with that.
Right.
All of that went into other places. But this is supposed to be, because this is based directly on the COVID activity or the corporate activity tax. So as this is supposed to be permanent. We are supposed to have this for what they did is, again, a little bit of political shenanigans, we'll call them. So our state school fund is where it's at, but this big chunk, so $700,000 of our state school fund now, it used to be we got whatever our budget was, they just gave it all to us and said, run your school. But now they give it to us and they say they're giving us this big chunk, but 700,000 of it is directed that you can only do certain things with it. The 200,000 from Measure 98, you can only do certain things with it. So it's really a way for the state government to be a little more controlling over what we're doing with our money. But we have really leaned into it, and we, as I just said at the end of that, we need the SEL support. So we are working really hard to try and do that. Everything we're doing is not perfect. It has been great adding the 2 counselors in there at the 2 buildings. The behavioral support from the elementary has been great. We had a behavior support person at the middle school through this $6 million grant that ESD got, and they were training all of these mental health professionals. They brought them in, grant paid for their education, but also paid them to work in the schools. So we just were the beneficiary of that, and we had them for 2 years. The problem was all you had to do to apply for the program was have a bachelor's. So the first person that we got had a bachelor's in computer science and had spent 20 years programming computers, and then decided they wanted to go back to school and work with kids. And so then they start taking classes, they get in this program and they dump into our school, and we're trying to get behavioral support with them as they're learning. It didn't work out, so he was gone. We got the second one in. They didn't work out, so they were gone. We did get our third one and they worked really well, only the federal government cut the funding for that program. And so we were supposed to have them through the end of the year, and their last day is next Thursday. So we still got a good portion of, she was there at the end of last year and beginning of this year, and she has worked out well, but again, we're losing her. The good thing is there are some new trained mental health professionals that we're hoping will stay around Douglas County, because that's part of our problem is we can't do it all in the schools, even though we're expected to. We're trying to, but we can't manage all of that. But there's no place in the community to send them. And when you do send them out there, they have a 10-week waiting list, the waiting period to even get seen. And it's just difficult, that vicious cycle. So anyway, that's what we're doing with our SIA funds. It's supposed to be here for good, but it is a little variable. If we are really going into an economic downturn, this will be reduced. So, which no surprise, right? If we go into an economic downturn, our state school fund is going to be reduced as well. So they go in. But it has been good, and we also, I guess, we added the elementary music and elementary art back into SIA as well. So those also. So SIA is people. I mean, it is almost, I'd say 80, 85, 90% people. We use some money in there for safety every year, which kind of leaves us to a little bit of flexibility with it, but really that is 90% people. So if that grant were to get cut in half, we're losing some of those people. So, okay, so yeah.
I asked a lot of these questions because it's all new to me.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I welcome the questions, and hey, to be fair, some of these guys want to ask those questions, but don't. So they're not for everyone. So yeah, please. All right. Any other questions on SIAs? No? All right.
Let's move along then to the report cards.
So I talked to the principals, they're gonna present their report cards for for each of their buildings. And then, so what you have in there is our state report card. We put this out every year. They've changed the format of it every other year, it seems like. They've settled on this one a little bit and the things that they're measuring and so forth. So we printed off the main parts of it. They're not gonna reread it to you, but it's gonna give you a couple of high points and then areas that they want to work on, that they would like to focus
I'll go first.
All right.
The interesting part when we look at the data for this, especially in our English language arts and mathematics, those are based off of the test scores. So you're looking at only third and fourth grade for my building. And then in Connors, it's the entire building, and then in Rachel's, it's only another one grade. So when you get these, but then you look at our other data that we have, you're like, those are different. So, but it is something, I'll start with what we're going to work on is our ELA and our math at the third and fourth grade level for our building. So with our district-wide PLCs, we put it together so that the K-1-2 teachers are looking at that earlier and trying to find where we're seeing gaps and pick those up within instruction. Our attendance on this says it's at 80%, but when you go to our actual system, we're still in the 90s. So I'm very proud of our attendance. We just did our first round of letters for some of our chronic non-attenders, and that's picked up a little bit, but they want to be here, so that's great. Yeah, it goes through the class sizes, which that's not accurate either, but I think they're taking all of our classes into consideration. But we are definitely putting a lot of work into our test scores this year, especially at elementary. Any questions?
Well, I mean, obviously we're proud of Oakland and all of our staff and kids. And I just wonder, usually it seemed like we were ahead of state averages as far as test scores.
Pre-COVID, we were.
Yeah.
Children are learning to learn again. And so it's taken a hit, but we are seeing it trending, like within our building, especially in our reading program. Katrina Davis has helped spearhead the K-2 literacy grant that we won, and we are already reaping the benefits of that. We're having such high numbers of readers again. And our class sizes, when we do our reading program, years before it was minimal. They were kind of spread out all over. We had some that were really low and some that were really high, but we're having that problem that we used to have where they're all pretty high. So then we can have those smaller, 8 to 10 kid focus groups because we also have the staff. Yeah, so that's going to make a huge difference.
Okay.
Yes.
No. I guess here again, ignorance. Third graders affected by COVID?
So,
How?
because with the families got out of the tradition of we're going to go to school, we're going to get up, we're going to have breakfast, we're going to go to school. Because a lot of those families, a lot of our third graders that we have that came to us this year
Mhm.
haven't been in school. They had been homeschooled up until this point, and now their parents are saying, okay, let's try. So we have a lot of our third graders. That's why third grade was one of the first grades in my building to close, because we had 62 kids. And they were kids that had never been in school before.
If I can make a comment too,
That's Katrina Davis.
yeah, sorry. Part of it too is we have kids that on the test didn't test proficient that read really well. But then again, it's some of that SEL and behavior stuff. They have a lot of anxiety or they have work refusal that even though on other days we can get them through, you have to set the kid down and say, sorry, can't help you.
Yeah.
And those kids go, okay, I'm not doing it, or I'm just, and so you get, especially with third graders, it's their first time ever doing that big test. The numbers that we see that we know they can read and comprehend at grade level don't come out. As the kids get older, they get a little more mature in those behaviors, in those testing behaviors. But so many more kids that have emotional blocks students to doing well on it, not as an excuse, but as we saw the behavior start to rise, we started seeing from the test scores go down too. So it's just a whole combination.
Thank you.
All right. First off, I would say everything they're doing down there, we definitely benefit from. Ours is definitely a little different because we do in math and language arts, we test in all 4 of our grade levels. Science is just 5th and 8th. That definitely is a focus this year. Obviously not as an excuse, but my hope is that 6% decrease from the previous year was that this was our new curriculum, not that the curriculum is at fault, but sometimes that can be a big change when you're switching over. So looking at that, we've kind of adjusted how we're using that curriculum, what each day looks like in the classroom as well. They're also focusing on our regular attenders, which is awesome. It went up 2%. I think right now, when I checked this morning, on the same metric, we were at 81.8%, which is awesome. And that doesn't take today into account, which we had one of our best days, surprisingly, which usually doesn't happen at this time of year. We had 7, 8 students out, which is pretty incredible for this time of year. The class sizes will probably change this year because we have some kids, but it have its own struggles that can come with it. Math, we did drop a little bit. I'd say that's a big focus. Obviously, language arts always is, but we've always spent a lot of time in language arts. So math, we haven't as much. We shifted classes around a little bit to give a little bit more time in math, especially in 5th and 6th grade, trying to bring those class sizes down. We actually have a separate teacher when we added that half position down at the middle school and then the high school, we split that. So we actually have another teacher now that pulls those kids out. So we look at the kids that could have the most success if they were in a small group environment. So right now that's 8 other kids. This year it's just 5th grade, just 6th grade separately. 2 IAs in there as well. So they get a lot of one-on-one small group instruction. So I'm very interested to see what that will look like. I think that's going to have a huge benefit. Across the board, one of the main focuses for us, because again, we do spend a lot of time testing with all of our kids. So we take a big portion at the end of the year, and we're spending pretty much almost a month and a half testing because we're not going to sit down for a week and test in every single one of their classes. One of the focuses that we've done this year that we implemented last year, but not as much, and kind of trying to figure out what that looks like and how we can use it. But the interim testing, which also is now going to be requirements moving forward, it's awesome because we got into it a little bit before I think a lot of the other schools did. But state testing, when you look at it, the way that the test is presented, the way the questions are presented, it's a lot different than a lot of the assessments that are out there. It's asking the same things, but a lot of times it's asking them in different ways. The interim testing is actually it is the state testing, but it can be small portions. So you can actually go through it. And what the teachers are doing this year is actually looking at, hey, we finished this unit. Now we're going to turn around and do the interim testing on just that specific unit. So you can pull just that portion out. It'll give feedback. It'll actually break down. You can see the questions themselves, which is fantastic, because then the teacher can go through and say, hey, 70% of the students did not answer this correctly. And then they can pull that out, show it to the class, and go through with them. I think that will have a huge benefit. Because again, a lot of the times we get the assessments, and the assessments that we use and that are out there are fantastic. A lot of times that's not 100% going to correlate to state test results. So I think the more that we can use that with the
Questions for Connor?
All right.
You're up.
Well, I feel like I need to address test scores for a minute, even though directly on ours, that's not one of the direct matrices. But as both Ann and Connor said, in high school, we only test our juniors, and they were probably more affected by COVID in different ways, right? And for COVID, they had to pass it to graduate. There was a lot more focus wanting to pass it. now we face the, hey guys, we really, really, really need you to work hard and try your best so we can see how our teachers are doing. But you still get a certain number of students that didn't just put through. So that's a constant struggle. But I think I just got done meeting with all the seniors and showing them their junior testing, and those light bulbs came on. What we're doing though, district wide, I think is huge, is that our PLCs that we're meeting, our teachers are broke up into professional learning communities, and so the group I work with is 12 to 7 teachers. Connor has the 7 to 3 to 6, and then Ann has the primaries. And so even on Friday, those PLC groups as social studies, English, math, science in that 7-12 cohort are looking at data, and they're looking at data of the 9th graders in 8th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade, 5th grade, and see how they progressed. And they're looking at all of that strand data as best they can, and they're going to be overloaded with data. But to be able to look at what the elementary has done and what the middle school has done, and how where those deficiencies still are, not deficiencies on the teachers and the staff, of course, but where those deficiencies are and where we need to meet them. And so I think the streamlining of the departments is huge. The teachers were asked to go through and vertically align their curriculum, their standards, so that they knew that all standards were being met, and now to break down the standards of the test scores and say, these are where the gaps are. Maybe we're teaching this too much and we're doing really well, and that's great, but maybe we have a little room to back off on this unit, but increase this unit based on what our students have been doing all the way 3 through 9, and then we don't test 3 through 8, and then we don't test again until 11. So we hope that that's going to make a difference when it gets to all of our test scores across the district, is that alignment. Looking directly at at a glance, our regular attenders is up 4%, which we can be proud of. It's not good enough. We're very much putting a focus on attendance, and I feel like I'm feeling very positive that next year's will be even better. We have a strong push right now and really documenting those, making it verbal to students and parents that, less than 10% missed here, more than 90% is what we want. Most of our students really are there. I mean, we get it higher, clearly, but we're targeting that 10 to 15% range, right? That middle range, that if we could just get up and come a little bit more, they're going to drop down into the 90% here column pretty quickly. And so I've been making a concerted effort to basically tell every single student what their attendance is up to this point and make a goal of just a 5% more, get here 5% more. And we'll see. I mean, I'm fairly encouraged by it. Maybe I'm just an optimist, but I hope that I feel like attendance is good. Today we're at 95% today. Again, I was shocked by today of all days. We'll see if that holds through next week, but it was great. Real quick too, on time to graduation, just to comment, yeah, it's down 2%, and that's frustrating because, again, we look at on track to graduate is high, on time graduation is still good, but when we look at our senior class, they all graduated. So those figures are skewed, right? I mean, we did have 100% of our kids that were our students that graduated, that got across the finish line. So where's the 6% that apparently didn't? Sometimes they meet us freshman, sophomore year, and today they're going here, but never actually enroll. We never actually get the paperwork. So we're just really trying to make a concerted effort to follow them better, best of our abilities. We're never going to be perfect. Track them better, use some of our resources that the ESD provides, youth mentors to have some home visits and some reach outs if we know they're still local but haven't enrolled. And also to try to encourage that homeschool piece of, let's do something. How can we help you get enrolled somewhere? But, it's pretty easy for a kid that might say, hey, I'm going to go to Savoa or Sutherland or Elton as a freshman, and then they never get picked up, then we end up losing sight of them. And we shouldn't, but it happens. And so that's down, but it doesn't mean we had dropouts. And so, again, I'm just saying that we're really tracking better, and we're doing our due diligence to make sure that every kid that has left us is somewhere coded correctly and picked up correctly. I think those are the big ones. I had a few more notes, but I feel like I rambled enough. Any other comments or questions?
Anything? Thank you. I do appreciate everything that you do, and I'm looking forward to seeing, how things improve along the way. I'm sure they will. I know it's been tough, but like I say, I appreciate your efforts.
From a district point of view, the one that has the overview of the district, good things. I mean, our regular attendance, it's still 79%, which, you know, we don't think is great. We need to get better at it. And we know that, but that's up 5%. And we feel good about it. And I guess just an overview of, remember, this is data from last year. So our data where we're going this next year will be where we really leaned into making some improvements in areas. We're really hoping to see that growth there. You know, as a district, we want that, our English, grade 3 English language arts needs to improve. We're well below the state average there, and we're working towards that. Again, getting some of those kids that even, so Ann was referring to third graders that are coming in and have been homeschooled. In some cases, that in that third grade class, which are fourth graders now, they came to us as second graders that had been held out for 3 years and are coming in as first graders. So just steep learning curve there. We do our mathematics, grade 8 math, 35%. Still not great. We want to get that better at that, but again, we're above the state average, so that's a positive. I was surprised when I saw our students with disabilities applying clear up to 20%. That's a large number. Remember, we only get reimbursed from the state school fund at 13%. 13%, so that extra 7% and the costs that come with that are just on us. We got to manage that, so that's unfortunate. I was a little surprised when I saw our 34% our students experiencing poverty has dropped. Not exactly sure why that is. I feel like there could be some factors in there. And when I say why, I don't believe we've dropped from over 50 down to 34, but because of now that we're on the district-wide free lunch program and so forth, there are some of their indicators to getting that are, I think, off a little bit as well. So I don't know how 100% accurate that is. And then the last thing, just listening to the principals talk, the fact that we get so much as this is on test scores is really frustrating for us as for us as a school, really as a district. It's because the test scores, there's no teeth to it. I can tell you that scores, the passing scores on the, and I'll speak from the high school when I was principal, the passing scores on that junior ELA and math test was a whole lot higher when they had to pass it to graduate. If you didn't pass, you didn't graduate. All of a sudden, they took it a lot more seriously, and it was a big deal when they sat down and took it. Now it's not. They don't have to have to graduate. And that we know that that's out till at least 28. If they put it back in or not, we don't know. But so their dedication to sit down and we talk them up and we say, hey, you know, this is the chance for us to figure out where we're doing, and we say all those things. Plus, Oregon is on the liberal side in some areas, so they allow blanket opt-outs. So those aren't just that's a variety of kids. So we have kids that would pass that test with flying colors that are opting out and not even taking the test. And there's, you know, so I guess I would just preface that those low scores, keeping in mind, those are not excuses, and we're not using them as excuses, but we're just saying there are other factors that make that data look way more skewed than it truly is. So
Those are our own teeth into it for graduation meetings.
Well, we could. I mean, we could. We always have that ability. But I would be that we would want to tread that road lightly, because then all of a sudden our 95, you know, something we've taken a lot of pride in, and we use that as one of our biggest bragging rights, right? That we're in the negative. We've been over 95% for the last 15 years. If we put that teeth into it, where we could roll back, might solve some other problems. Some kids wouldn't stay here and would just say, yeah, we're not going to go to Oakland if it's harder to graduate there. We used to do that. And I want to say it might have been right when I became principal or right before. We used to require 25 credits to graduate when the state requirement was 24. It used to be 25, and then they reduced it from the state to 24, and Oakland kept it at 25. And we did that for quite a while, and then rolled it back to 24 to meet the state requirements, and for a variety of reasons. So we do have the ability to do that. But that only manages your sixth graders, your juniors, high school kids. That does not change your 3 through 8 kids. It doesn't change their approach to it. So lots of factors in there. Again, not making you are going to get very familiar with test scores because Senate Bill, House Bill 141, the Accountability Act has been passed. That is, it's still going through the rulemaking. They kind of came out of the rulemaking, but they kicked their deadline down the road. It's going into place next year. We did get our cohort of schools got established of the schools that were gonna be in our comparative group. There's maybe 12 of them. Pretty similar districts, Reed, Fort Bend, and some coast ones, a couple spread out around the state, but, so they're going through that process. And so what they were talking about, the formative assessments, that is part of that is we got to give results to the board 3 different times a year. So you will get what we're doing on the formative assessment, and that will give you a clearer picture of what we're talking about on the state scores, because you'll see much higher scores on our formative assessment that we're doing on a regular basis. You know, in the quarter tests, things like that, you'll see a lot more growth and success there than you will in the state testing. That's a problem that everybody has, and we're working on it, as you can see when it shows those state scores that are in the 20s. It's embarrassing. You think at some point the state would go, you know what, we need to look at this and go, we need to find a better way to assess how we're doing in education than these state tests. But that's what we have right now, so that's what we're stuck with.
Any other questions? You good? Well, for those of you who haven't been to a board meeting before, you're in for a rare treat right now. 8.9 policy, second reading.
But that November meeting look a little sweeter now, isn't it?
How do you want to do this?
Well, so you have your packet policy that I gave you, and then you have that printout that I gave you on the top of it that has kind of went through. I mentioned each one of the policies in what it is, and then kind of gave you just a brief overview, and then my recommendation. My recommendation is exactly that, just a recommendation. Policies are your guys' baby. That's the main job you guys have, is to put in, adopt, and enforce in policies, and then hire and fire the super. That's pretty much your 2 main jobs. So you get to embrace the more boring one now. So I have it out there. They're laid out. If you guys want to, I'm assuming you've all read through them. You've read through. If you have questions, we can go through. I'll answer any questions you have. I did highlight the one JHCA, the immunization, school sports participation, concussion, and brain injuries. I just mentioned in that one that if we want to revisit the physical requirement for sports, this would be the time to do it, since we're adopting the policy. Don't feel like we have to, but we'll do that. So if you want to, you handle it however you want. In the past, we went policy by policy, or I've just said, hey, if you got questions, lay them on me, and we'll skip through your questions and then go that way. So whatever you.
All right, let's just, if it's all right, we'll just get on the list. If I name off the letters and you have a thing, just say so.
Well, how would we visit the sports one?
Physical one, we'll get that when we get to it. How about that? All right.
All right, first up is BHD. Any questions on that one? All right. BCF.
Yes.
All right.
Why the change? The committee no longer reports to the board, but to the superintendent, thus avoiding public meeting laws.
Yes, that's exactly right. So the Equity Advisory Committee is one that, again, came out of Portland, and that equity doesn't need to be addressed. And so it gave the schools the ability to address it any way they wanted. So the law said that it was passed a while ago, went into play. So last school year, all schools, 10,000 students and above, had to have their Equity Advisory Committee in place last September. This year, and then this September, the rest of the state had to have theirs in. So we went ahead and did ours last year as well. And we got our site councils back up and running. We do it through all 3 buildings, have there's a site council in all 3 buildings, and they meet fall, winter, and spring. And we made that winter meeting where we bring them all together, and that's our Equity Advisory Committee. And they meet once a year, all together. And then when they did that last year, then we came back and reported to the board. Because the bigger schools were doing it, it became clear, because they reported to the board, all of their meetings were public meetings as well. So they had to be broadcast and had to go all under all those public meeting laws. In a lot of small towns in Oregon, the Equity Advisory Committee was not met with open arms. And so they were struggling to get people on those committees, be willing to do it. And then some of the ones that were willing to do it, we're not willing to do it in a public meeting forum. So by changing it this way, they report to the superintendent, who then has the option to reporting that information to the board. That changed that. So that's why that policy changed, because now they don't have to meet those public meeting laws for the equity advisory committee.
And do you report it to the board?
Well, this will be the first year that we changed it. I will, but we haven't done it in the past. So, I think we're planning February. I don't know if we set the exact date, but we're looking at early February. So I'll catch the February meeting if I can. If not, it'll be March.
So I put a note on here, Jeff, and I'm not always sure what I wrote. I have BCF 1 through 3. Are the changes to policy BCF dependent on the adoption of policy CEA?
I might look on that. So.
You lost.
Because I guess it's because we pulled out all the.
The educational advisory committee. Clarified the process. That is the educational. Oh, there we go. I skipped that whole page. I didn't see the back. Well, this is optional. The information is required. This I recommend adopting. Yeah, well, I think they go hand in hand, even though they're two different policies, they go hand in hand. The information that's in the second one is required, so we need to review it. And then when we do that BCF, they go hand in hand, but they're not the same policy. If that makes sense.
Right.
So
But if you adopt one, you adopt the other.
yes, pretty
Okay.
much.
All right.
And both of them have some language in there that's required. So I don't know why they said they're optional, because they're not optional. We have to. Yeah, we have to have that in there in our policies.
So next up is CEA. I don't have any question about the CEA specifically. Then it's DBEA. That's the budget committee, which looks like we're looking at version 1.
And the only change for that is that as part of that adoption of the equity advisory committee, someone that serves on that committee has to be on the budget committee. That you have a pass on that until you get an opening. You don't have to take somebody off the budget committee to put somebody from
Is
the
that
advisory.
for you?
What's that?
The vacancy that,
I don't think, I'm gonna say no, but I do think we have some vacancies for this fall. That we have some vacancies coming up for this budget committee, but last one were all repeats. So last year was full from our previous ones.
So I had a question on DBEA, the OSBA sample, number 4. At its first meeting in August, it's been crossed off, in August, the board will identify vacant budget committee positions, which must be filled by the member of the board. And it says the board will announce the vacancies and receive applications from interested persons during the month of June.
yes. Just wondering about.
Yeah, that doesn't really.
Took those out because I used to go out because we didn't have our July meeting.
On the previous, before they were crossed off, you'd have your meeting in July and then you'd accept them during the month. And I'm assuming you address those.
So I'd say we currently don't have any openings because we haven't had resignations. We've had some verbal, I'm not sure I'm coming back yet. And so what we normally, our process is by January, we start making calls to those people. Hey, are you still good for the budget committee or not? And if not, hey, we need your resignation. And we have those openings. So we would still, so that's why we didn't give you any in August, because we don't have any currently. So as it stands right now, our budget committee is still filled with our same 5 people. 2 of those people are riding the fence of coming back. So we'll have to lean on them in January to see if they're actually coming back. So I guess that being said, Yeah.
In a perfect world, okay, yes, people would make commitments, they say, oh, no, I'm not gonna do it next spring. And we could do it in
Trying to think of when the best month, if we're gonna stick a month in there, when when it is the best time to put our month in there. We present the budget in April, May. So
So we need to do it
April would
April.
probably be our best bet. April would probably be our best month to put down there. Again, that's assuming that we, yeah, I mean, August is gonna be what it is. We'll put the August
Right.
months. We hope to have opening. So if not, let's say if we say April. Get it
For that
done.
second?
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of times it's not, yeah, so I'd say for the second one, let's go with April. It's a month beforehand, and usually isn't it the April meeting that we adopt the budget calendar, right? Is that the April meeting in
I typically do it, we have typically done it in February.
February?
Mhm.
And we just add that to the calendar of that in July, or even, at the April meeting, we'll accept applications, get that to the calendar. So I want to put a note to that. Do that.
Any other questions on that one? All right, we'll move along to GCBD/GDBD. Looks like I have a question. Do you have one, Mark? Go ahead.
What I'm used to was what I assumed was a state mandate was if somebody was sick more than 3 days, called in sick more than 3 days, required them to have a doctor. This says 5 days. And while this is an optional, says it's optional, but is this 5 days? Is that with the, I know they were going to expand the, the guaranteed amount of,
Extends the medical leave, yes.
is that 5 days part of that?
Yes, I don't know that it's written in stone in that, but I think that's the recommendation within that. Is it expanded? Essentially what that did was, I won't say encourage people to be gone, or it allowed people to be gone from work easier than it had been. So I do think, yes, that 3 to 5 went as part of that. Not required in there, but I think it was recommended. Which is why when OSBA gave us the sample policy, they assumed they grabbed it from there.
So I'm curious, this is a new policy. Says.
Yeah, well, is it new? Do we not have a GCBD? What's that? Oh, yeah, it's new because we don't have anything new to that place.
So, but I mean, it's new, just us.
No, well, new to schools. I mean, this goes out to everyone. So every
Right.
school, yeah, so new to schools.
I'm just curious why there's all these strike throughs if it's a new policy. And then,
And maybe it could be that we just didn't have it adopted.
okay,
I mean,
Okay.
because remember all of these optional, so any policy that comes out that's optional and we choose not to adopt it
Mhm.
wouldn't ever be in our policies, but that policy is still there. So that would be why this was. So it's been out there. We just haven't. Oh, there we go. So
Okay.
1916 on the bottom. Sort of.
Gotcha.
So
And so is your blue highlighted part there on the first page, is that keep the recommending?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because there wasn't a choice, so I was
Yes.
just curious.
Well, it was in brackets. So anything in
Yes.
brackets goes. So I highlighted as yes, that's recommended.
Okay. I think that's all I have. Next up is GCBEE, GDBD. You guys keeping track of this, guys? There are? Okay, excellent.
It's gonna be on the
This is
tab.
military leave of absence. Any questions on that one? Okay. Next one is IF, district curriculum. Okay, questions on
Yeah.
that? Oh, yes, go ahead, Mark.
Okay, says, this is for developing and modifying.
Yes,
curriculum. And that this won't happen often because we adopt off the state.
yes.
So as an example, would, looking at the state report cards, I understand the reasons. I'm not questioning that. But would that be an example of, say, we need to get this changed? Should we look at modifying or developing our curriculum to accomplish that? Or is that not what this is really about?
I would say that that would be a facet of it. Yeah, I would say that would be something if we said, hey, we really wanted to do this. So we try and I would, generally speaking, I'd say it would be more common to do that with curriculum that we did, that we adopted that was not on the state adopted list. Because when we pull stuff off the state adopted list, that's supposed to be stuff that directly goes into the state, that directly relates to the state standards and to state testing, supposedly. But you still have the ability to adopt off of that list. Generally, that's where I would say more so this comes into play if we were going to take something that wasn't on the list, but we were going to modify it and change it to match what it did there. I wouldn't say it's our policy, but I'd say it's been our practice ever since I've been a soup, and even as a principal, we've never adopted anything off of the state list. I can't think of as an educator of a justifiable reason to pull something off of the state adopted list. The hoops that you have to jump through for it. That's not me saying I agree with all of the state adopted curriculums. What I'm saying is though, if they give us this list of these are the ones that are approved to pull from, if you pull from something over here, fine, you got to jump through all these hoops. And now if it didn't make it to their list, then it's not meeting all of the criteria that the expectations are. So while I don't agree with all of the curriculums that are on that list, I feel like that's not one we've chosen to break ranks with.
And that's my questions. I don't have that knowledge or
Sure.
perspective that you have. So some of these things I question, and that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, no, I we welcome the questions and the conversation to go with it.
Next up is IGBAB/JO-AR, education records of students with disabilities. That is required. I don't think it has any questions on that one. I'm trying to figure out what I meant. Significant changes to the.
No, and that one it's a required update. It's of an already existing AR that we have. There's some new verbiage in it, some new timelines. Not a lot of choices to be made in there, but I would say we'll do it in 10 days.
Okay. Next up is IIA. Instructional material. Did I miss one?
IGBHD.
No.
Yeah, well, there's no updates in it. It's just it says no updates, but there's just another new court case attached to it.
Oh, okay. So I haven't been just not on
I
this list.
do have a question.
Yes.
This is the court case pertaining to opt-outs based on religion. How do parents in our district know that there's something coming up that might be grounds for them to opt out?
Now, are you talking state testing? Or are you talking about something going on in the classroom?
Either.
Something we're going to teach. Well, the state testing opt out we have on our website. So they go because it's a state standard form that we have. So we have to post on the website. But something going on in the classroom that might be controversial. If we're going to do that, we are, again, I won't say policy because that's probably too extreme, but our very strong practice is if we're doing anything in the classroom that could be deemed any at all controversial, we're sending a permission slip. And in that permission slip that goes to the parent, it says, hey, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. This is what might be objectionable in it. If you would like your student to take part in this, please sign here. If you would like your student out of that to opt out, please sign here and return the slip, and we will provide them an alternate form of education that still meets some of this, that meets the same goals of what that lesson or unit or whatever is. So sex ed, those kind of things, those are, I'd say sex ed is probably the biggest one that gets opted out of, but there's plenty of other things that we do that we give the parents a chance to opt out. So we send permission slips home, and if we don't get that permission slip back, that's the same as opting out. I mean, let me rephrase that. Sometimes it depends on what it is that you have to specifically opt out, but in some cases, we'll go, well, if you don't get it back, then you're in. But others, if it's a little more borderline, then if we don't get a slip saying you can do this, then you can't do this, which it generally gets all of our slips back because if they want to do it.
Very good.
And since this was on this master list here, did you say this is required?
Are we IGBHD?
Yes.
Is it required? It is, it's already in there. It's not really adoptable. They stuck it in here saying there's no updates, but they're just attached to court dates too.
Okay.
So
Okay.
It didn't really give us an option to take it or not take it. It's just the policy staying the same. They're just sticking a court case on it as part of the policy.
IIA, instructional materials. Any questions on that?
It talked about a 7-year cycle to review where we at in that 7-year cycle.
The 7 years is per grade, per subject area. So last year we did, so like science 1 year, math 1 year, English 1 year, we're in that cycle. What's that? Social studies.
So we get a lot of emails as administrators for different curriculums, and they always question, oh, you're open for this. Have you tried this? We get a lot of people marketing.
Social studies was last year.
This year.
Last year was.
Last year was all.
So that's a 7-year cycle is their, all our subject levels.
Okay. Then the other reading, or what is it? 377/26 or something like that. I don't see on what basis there is available to even deny some of this stuff, or not adopt it. It almost looks like the way they wrote it that there's not a single reason that something is not okay curriculum-wise or instructional material-wise.
I'm not sure I'm following, like something that we shouldn't, like something that should be prohibited, is that what
Right.
you mean?
Instructional material cannot be prohibited or not recommended on the basis of yada, yada, yada.
Right.
Well, it covers,
Everything.
yeah, I don't see how you could ever say, no, we can't.
Well, I mean, I guess so looking at that 7-year cycle, we'll take social studies, for example. So we have social studies coming up. We have of all of our different social studies, geography, history, all the different subject areas that we have, we'll have curriculums that will go towards it. And we'll have say 6 different publishers that will throw out their options for U.S. history. So we'll look through those. As a history teacher, they're not that different. I mean, the form of the books and whatever, but the content inside of them is all pretty, I won't say it's the same, but it's all pretty similar. I mean, it's relatively boilerplate. You're not wrong in the fact that, back to a statement I said 20 minutes ago, Oregon sometimes is a little bit more of a liberal state that they don't want to take a stance and go, no, we're not doing that. We are not teaching that in our schools. There's not a whole lot of things that fall into that category. So for us, go back to something I've said quite a bit sitting in this chair, we try and do things the Oakland way. So we take what the school or that the state tells us to do. We adopt the curriculum that we choose to off of their list. And then from there, we teach it in a way that we believe that our community wants it taught. So we use an extra set of parameters to try and fall into. I wouldn't say we 100% hit the mark on that, but I think we do a pretty decent job of trying to match what our community's needs and wants are. Try to philosophies.
Any other questions on that one? Excuse me. So IIA-AR1, construction materials. It looks like a lot of these, not that you should ask questions if you have them, but it looks like a lot of these are kind of using the same, have the same.
These are all the
more or less.
yes, these are also, this is all the processes that you would take if you wanted to remove material that is in there that shouldn't, that's in this group, right? Yeah, so it's our core materials, library materials, instructional materials, supplemental stuff. All of that falls in there. So it's essentially the processes that we go through if we want something removed. So that's what these are.
And maybe my eyes were glazing over going through some of this.
That's
But says here in your
Yep.
comments on things, that board does need to choose composition of the committee. And did I miss that in the actual policy?
Which one are we on?
Say two. Or
This clarifies the process of what reconsideration of core instructional materials looks like. It's very spelled out. Its procedures. Board does need to choose composition of the committee. Oh, yes. So if you go through to that policy, it's two. I'll show you what I'm talking about because I made recommendations to change that and how it's imposed.
Does it sample policy for two? Two.
I think it's two. Almost there. Okay.
so some of your highlighted covered
Yes.
that? Okay.
Yes, so if you look on, I'm on IIA /AR 225. So it's on the second one and then it's page 2 of 5.
Okay.
So on that one, so that it says the reconsideration committee will be made up of at least, I scribbled it out 40 times, so
9.
And you went
9
to
members.
Yeah.
That's what I put. So I know, because I took it and changed it. So I crossed out 5.
Mhm.
And again, it's a recommendation, so you guys need to make this final one. They have a student on there. I philosophically do not believe students should be picking curriculum. So I don't think a student needs to be on there. I think you add another teacher. So originally I just cut it to 8 and took the student off. But then I thought, well, it's always better to have committees with odd numbers. So let's go back to 9 and add that with another teacher. So have another teacher in there. So that was the piece that I put in there as you guys needed in terms of.
Three teachers. Yeah.
But then it also recommended a third community member. If I remember right.
School librarian, one administrator, and 4 members from the community.
Fourth member.
But it depends on the AR. Some of them are different than that.
Yeah, I think it changes. It changes per AR how they do their makeup of their committees. Doesn't make any sense, but how they like supplemental instructional material has 7 members on that one.
It's stretch.
And then I gave you one more of which. So I said, so if you're jumping ahead to IIA AR3 on 2.6, that one, it's 7 members. And I said, well, if we're going to take the student off, you need to add either another community member or another teacher. Is that the one that might be?
Then on AR3, we adopt the policy that the decision of the committee is final.
Yes.
And yet, and why, just for curiosity, why choose that over the board
board.
decision?
So that was the board's decision the last time this policy came up. And what the belief was, and you guys are, I think, I don't know, some of you guys were on here. Anyways, when we did it, the reason was we felt like we were going to have a harder time getting committee members to commit to doing the work that it took to put all that, to go through everything and make a recommendation. If then they made that recommendation and the board just said, no, we're not doing that, we're going this way. So then I felt that the board felt at that point, if we did that, then the next time that this came about and we needed to do it a second time, that we weren't going to get committee members that were feeling like their opinion was valued. I'd use an example. Probably wasn't 10 years ago. Well, it was probably close to 10 years ago. When I was principal, we had our English teacher was using a book that was controversial. And so we went through the process. Hey, this is supplemental material you're using in your book, or you want to use this certain title in your book as a reading. And yes, I hear what the value you think it is. It's still controversial. We need to go through this process. So I called my committee together. We went through this process. We had the community members, the teachers, I had the resource officer put together. I think there was 9 or 10 on that committee. We went through it. Everybody read the book. We discussed it. We talked about why we felt like it was, either right or wrong. Had a great discussion around there. And then in the end felt, yes, this is controversial. There's some graphic stuff in it, but the value of it was worthwhile. So the committee put it together. I wrote up all their findings, presented it to the board, and they accepted it. That was before we made that decision. I think at that time, the board still had the ability to say, no, we can overturn that. But the last time this policy came forward, which was 11/24, yeah, 11/24, so it would have been last year. They determined that it was better to go with the decision of the committee. So the committee felt like it was valid.
Well, if we did a good job of choosing the committee, it should be.
Exactly.
Well, I think with it, you have an administrator on there, you have teachers on there, you have, I think that you.
Pretty good cross section.
Yeah. Good cross section.
For representation.
Yeah.
Just curious.
I think to me too, a little bit of the timeliness of it. I mean, you can drag this thing out for a really long time. So yeah, again, if you pick the right committee, because then you can go to the board. And I noticed there was one, and I mean, it sounds like you could drag it out for quite some time. I'm not sure if that's really necessary either. I mean, I think we need to maybe move things along every couple of days.
I think also, since if you almost have to, so if you have so let's use that book as an example. So we put the committee together, the committee says, no, we want to keep the book. And then or let's say that the committee said you want to get rid of the book or go the other way. Then go to the board, and the board goes, no, we like the book, we're going to keep it in place. So we're going to not take your recommendation. Then you're going to end up right back there, because the reason that we had the committee anyway is because we had some community members that were upset about the book.
Right.
So now the committee said, no, we think it should be gone. The board goes, no, we think it should stay. Then we're still going to have those same angry parents that think it should be gone. So that was the, I'm paraphrasing what the board had to say at that point, but that was the thought process.
Yeah.
And if you want to change that back, this is the time to do it, because we're adopting the policy, and it's just a matter of changing the language, and it comes back to that. And I think as part of that discussion, we said, somebody on the board said, well, we're most likely always going to support the committee's decision. So if you feel like you want to have the right to say, well, we need to make that decision, this is the time to do it.
I would step back for just a moment on that. Since we're on the AR3 as an example, do we want to make a decision on the makeup of that committee, since you had that?
Yes, I think it would be worth you guys doing at this point.
So we have either 3 teachers and 2 community members, or the other way around. I don't know if you have a preference.
Personally, I think for a controversial thing, probably the more community,
Mhm.
the more buy-in at large there would be. Rather than, not anything against teachers, but rather than the teachers are part of the system, the community members. For something controversial, I think it'd be better to have more of them than staff. I think.
Maybe that's what I would recommend too. Yeah, I think a complaint came from the community. There's definitely some merit to that.
Did you divide that?
What's that?
Did you divide the community, any pros and cons for that?
Well, I luckily would not be putting that committee together. That would be these guys. My experience when I did it, yes, I picked, because again, the book that we were debating was a controversial book, so I felt like I knew the community pretty well. So I got some far rights, some lefts, and some middles, and got a cross section of it. I grabbed one person that complained about it and brought them on. One of the more reasonable, tried to find some, that's a little more reasonable and open-minded. And then I grabbed somebody that also stepped forward and defended it. And then I grabbed two just. So yes, I would say when we put it together and grab our community people, we grab them. We try and grab them from it along the continuum.
I'm not saying we don't, but I mean, you can make your committee go which way you want to pretty easy.
Yeah, yes. I really tried my approach, and again, I'm only speaking from the one experience because it only happened once, and it was a big deal. I mean, it was a big deal. But I thought I felt like, yes, I could have taken the lead on it and guided the committee, but I really tried not to. In the end, I was split. The book was fine. I think someone on the committee put it best. Good, better, best. Is this good? Yeah, it's okay. There's a purpose for it. Yes, there's a great message in there. It's good. Is there a better way to get that message out there? Probably. Is this the best option? Probably not. But we stuck with it because it's good and it was good enough. But she made a very good argument there, and that stuck with me over the years. Good, better, best. And she was one that came on board she was a retired teacher and that just lives in the community now, and she came in and she's relatively conservative and so she was an English teacher that goes, yeah, I can see why we would use this, and yes, there's a purpose for it, but there's probably something better out there, but I'm okay with this. So yeah, I think that cross section is important. So I took the stance as an administrator to not try and lead the committee and just, hey, here's the info, you guys get the discussion going. And it was a great longer meeting than I wanted, but it was probably a good 2-hour discussion about the book and about what was good about it, what was bad about it, and what really the purpose was. And it actually was a really good conversation too about how it matches Oakland and the kids that we have that fit that. It was about Native. It was based on Native Americans story, and that it really fit well. So anyway, it was a really good, rich conversation. So I tried not to, but in response to what you said, yes, I do believe that the administrator could take more if they wanted to, most likely. But
Or there's anything you pick it,
yes,
So the other side too is whoever's on the wrong side of that, we're on the minority side of that, can just think about it.
Yeah.
And think about it.
And in the end, we really said we need to come to a consensus, and it doesn't have to be unanimous. Said it is a majority rules. I told them that from the start. This is a majority rules conversation, but we want to walk away from this where everybody's feeling good about it. Hey, this is a decision that we made, and it is a big deal. It's educating our kids, and it's putting it in front of there. And the committee, I mean, I had 2 people that said, no, I'm not doing that. I will not sit on that committee because I don't. Yes, I've read the book, and I have my opinions, but I'm not going to take the stance for the whole community. I don't want the responsibility of making the choice. Yes, it should stay, or yes, it should go. So I did have some people that just said, yeah, I'm not doing it. So, yeah, that was eye-opening for me as well, because I thought it was, well, yeah, I'd love to sit on that committee.
And it turns out the 4 union members.
4.
Is that math work?
If you did 4, I still say you need an odd number.
Yeah.
So if you did go to 4 community members, we need to add a teacher. So you could go 4 community members and 3 teachers. And your librarian in there is good, and your administrator's going to be out there.
what would you prefer to do? Do you want to keep it at 7 or do you want to bump to 9 and keep those ratios the same?
I don't really have a preference. You guys,
I kind of like having the odd number of community members,
Yeah,
three,
yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
kind of based on what you said. So should we go 3, 2, 1, and 1 to make up the 7? The 3 community members, 2 teachers, and then the librarian administrator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
that works.
All right.
And then before we do that policy, you need
Yes.
to determine if you want to go back to board has final decision, or you want to leave it to the committee.
Right.
That really is your guys' decision.
I'm good with the committee. That's my own personal opinion.
Yeah, so am I.
Thank you.
I asked out of curiosity.
Oh, yeah, no, it's a good question. It really is. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll probably be revisiting this in a year.
Yeah. Right, we're going.
I'll just open it. Does anyone have any questions on any of the IIAR numbers in parentheses things?
4 also has the same choice.
Maybe that's
numbers if you're going to.
Okay, I have 4 on there for some reason, so I didn't know why.
On the 4, we need to go to 3 community members.
And as soon as I catch up,
It's
here,
2-5, 2-5.
we got 7. Oh, okay, so you want to do the same thing then?
Yeah.
We'll have 2 teachers and 3 community members once again, with a total of 7.
You guys still with us back there?
Makes you want to be a board member, doesn't it?
Or a superintendent?
Or a superintendent.
Oh, 2 hours, come on, you practice for longer than that. Only because of music.
So do we have, does anyone have any others on the IIAR selection here? 6 is just a form, right? Yeah.
Should get us to graduate up to IKF.
IKF, so IKF graduation requirements. So conditionally required.
That's odd. Condition.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand that one.
It's conditionally required, I'm assuming, because of the essential skills is required. It's not required till 27, 28. And so we're adopting it. Where it's required, we're adopting it, but in 27 and 28, we will address it again if they make that change. But the testing has to be, pass the test terms.
So going backwards a little bit. A lot of these students are saying, we don't have really any graduation requirements, so I'm not really trying. Don't they understand or care the consequences of that? I mean,
Well,
It's
we hope,
amazing.
yes, we hope. So, and we do have graduation requirements. I mean, they gotta pass their 24 credits, so, and those are prescribed in X number of electives, required classes, 4 years of English, 3 years of math, whatever, all those things are out there. So those requirements are out there. Oregon hasn't changed its standards, which I don't know in any other states, but a D is passing, so 60% is passing, or in some kids' eyes, 59.6 is passing. And so they're minimum to get you through. We try, and I would say we do it in all 3 buildings. It's less in the elementary because at that point, they're just trying to teach them how to figure out to be. But I'd say by upper middle school and definitely high school, we're talking about, we put more of an emphasis on soft skills than maybe the state does in their graduation requirements. We talk about employability, talk about being a good community person and all of those things. So we talk those things up and we try and incorporate those into our curriculum and classes as best we can. So they do start to see, hey, and I can't, I'm sure these guys do the exact same thing, but I can't count the number of times that I had a conversation with a kid and said, you know, if you do that in 2 years, you're going to get fired. You know, you're never going to keep a job. You know, you have to do this. And so I do think that is a underlying current to what we do to try and bring those things in. But are bound by the stuff that comes down the hill.
So I have a question on the sample policy. I guess is the one you care about.
You're going IKF.
IKF, yeah. Page, I guess 3.9, the very top of the page, you crossed off the part about the International Baccalaureate Organization.
I crossed that off because we just don't do any of that.
Okay.
We have not done anything with that IB stuff.
So it says right below that, to receive a diploma in addition to credit requirements outlined above, is that
So I should have kept crossing off.
there may, or it depends on, you know, if it means the page before, then it probably makes perfect sense.
Yes, I was looking for, because it's dropped out, it has the number down there, right? Because 13's on there. So yes, so those are still part of the diploma requirement.
Okay.
So they have to demonstrate proficiency, has the little footnote of 13 that it's out till 27-28.
Okay.
Develop an education plan and profile. That's our CIS system that we start down in fifth-ish, sixth grade. Extended application standards through a collection of evidence. That's our senior project. And then career-related learning experiences, 2 and 4 both go together. So we have the career-related learning experiences that they start in fifth, sixth grade, putting together, exploring careers, looking at what they are doing, and then their own education plan. That's where we, in high school, put their credit worksheets. This is where I'm going, or this is the classes that I'm taking. And hey, here's what I want to do afterwards. So if you're doing that, here's some classes that you might want to lean towards in high school. So we kind of build their educational plan based on what their future goals are. Hard to do because those freshmen want to be a professional athlete or a fireman or whatever. But we still try and yes, we'll try to get up to the
Second grade,
but-
they want to be space cops.
so yes, those are related to that. So we have those in play there.
Okay. Gonna break your heart, but I don't have any questions. So
JHCA, that is one that I felt like we needed to touch on. And this is small thing. This is the policy that the reason that it's up for an extra adoption is they added some concussion. They've always had concussion stuff for concussion training for all of our coaches, staff, all those. But the concussion return, they had return to play protocols to get them back out on the sports fields. They did, but this adds in some protocols for getting them back into the classroom and seeing if we have to slow play it. We've had these protocols in place in practice for many, many years. When a kid gets a concussion, then we manage what they need to manage. Some kids can make it back in 2 days. Other kids, I mean, we had one of our best and brightest students to ever graduate from Oakland that she was out probably 3 months, slow return on her concussion because it was a big deal and it was life altering for her. And we just adopted to what we needed to do. The reason that I brought it up again though is because it came up at our meeting two years ago. I don't know, it was back when we were still meeting in the library. So we had a community member come in complaining about why do we do sports physicals every year when the state requirement is every other year?
Yeah.
And our response is it's always been, hey, the physical is a small overview at best, but they do check their heart, they do check those things, so it doesn't make any sense for us when it's always been our practice to do it, require them every year. We still connect with Evergreen and it's very affordable, $20-25 at the beginning of the year if they do it that way. So we've kept it at every year, but the state requirement is every other year. So that's why I put that in. If you wanted to readdress that, at that point, you guys were, nope, we think that we need to continue with it every year. We like the thought process. You talked to the community member that brought the concern and had a nice open dialogue. I don't know that he left happy about it. I've never heard anything else about it from him. So anyway, so we kept it there. I just pointed it out because if you're gonna change it, this is the time to change.
Yeah, I remember right, he was more upset about the extra money it's costing us here in this.
So, and I don't know if he was aware of the fact that, because that was at least 2 years ago, and I think we just started Evergreen. We used to bring the doctor in and they brought him on campus.
Right.
Now Evergreen does an open day and brings him in, so.
So are we consolidating? I mean, we have this our district policy, which has JHCA, JHCB, but then here we have it crossed off on the JHCB crossed off on the USD sample policy.
I'm assuming that becomes then one policy.
Okay.
How do you read it? Yeah, this becomes one policy.
So do we need to specify 2 or every year?
I don't think you,
We're just doing it unchanged.
well, I would cross it out. If we're gonna keep it as it is, we need to make that change in there. It says every year
Oh,
as it is.
Oh, every
Yeah.
year.
So we can make it that our policies every year because it reads every 2 years or after. We just cross out whatever
So we
year
need to
if
change
we
that.
leave it as is. So that would be a change. That's kind of why I highlighted and put the question marks.
I think we're good at keeping it every year. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
no brainer.
Me too.
Funny, I didn't say that because I felt like I was supposed to unless it was making a complaint, but I'm like, it's about the safety of the kids and why would we not take that extra hoop to have them go do this to make sure?
Last month, how many young athletes have died right there on the practice field?
Exactly right.
Well, and then I feel like you're holding a liability if for some reason you do it every 2 years and something does happen.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
I just feel it's safer all the way around. A lot of.
yeah, I agree.
Okay, so that took those, so now we're down to JOIGBAB-AR. Right off your tongue, educational records, records of students with disability. Any questions on that one? That's some minor.
Stack's getting smaller.
Yeah.
And I'll be out of here. Last meeting, month, we got here, what, 7:30, 7:45?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Those are the days.
November month, way to go.
All right, JOA, directory information.
Obviously.
Fairly straightforward and.
It just dropped a few things off the list.
Sure.
Okay. And then,
I'll be, put it on there because it was on that list, but it's not, we don't have the policy, so. No update.
You have a brief. What that's about.
Virtual school student. So, we are the public schools have the ability to, if you decide you want to take your child out and you want to enroll them in a virtual school, we have to say yes until we get to 3% of our school population. Once we get 3%, that is, so let's say we have 600 kids and 18 of them have left us and went to online school. At that point, we have the ability to say, nope, you have to stay here. We have that ability. That's what the law says. I have never taken that stance. If a kid wants to go and a family wants to take them, we want to support that. We definitely don't want to keep kids here that don't want to meet. So we have enough kids here. That's already want to be here. So but that's what that law states. It gives you that. But I will say I have some soup friends that have fought that and said no because they were purging kids. They were struggling. Their money's gone because when they see this, kids are walking out the door, they're losing money. He said no, and then there's an appeal that goes to ODB and we lose the appeal. It's pretty much different. But they're going to go anyway. You can tell them no, but they still have ways to get around it to go. So but it's always been Oakland's stance. If you want to go, that's fine. Just finish your textbooks and get checked out, and we wish you the best of luck. We're here for you when you want to come back.
Anything else on policies?
The only thing I would say is, I'm gonna go back on what I said earlier. I did not, we missed putting it as an action item. If you were ready to adopt these tonight, as stated, then I just need to go back in time to adjust the agenda and put an action item of 8.3 to adopt the policies. Second reading, so you're more than, it felt like all questions were answered, so if you guys all feel good about them as presented, then we just need to get done. Or we can wait till next meeting. I think we have to go through them all again. I'm just kidding.
Only back.
So, okay, if you want to do that, I just need to adjust the agenda.
What's the feeling of the board? You want to just get them done?
Yeah.
Okay.
So an adjustment to the agenda, if you would like to add, because we still have pieces of the agenda to do. We still got a couple more things, but action item of 10.3.
Yeah.
Not policy. There's only 9 more things on the agenda. Calm down. Thank Mr. Ivy. To be fair, it was my idea. He just took it from me and kept it going.
I think we should have a meeting shoe removal policy.
Yeah, we did.
8.10, Oakland City Library.
Just an FYI, I got an email from Rachel Grinberg. Is that right? Grinberg, she's the city librarian. She sent me an email out of the blue about 3 weeks ago. Hey, really, she's collecting grants because I guess she's bought so many books, or the city has bought so many books that the library is getting so heavy, it's causing some issues for Washington School, and they're having some foundational issues. So instead of getting rid of some of the books and lightening the load, she's starting to look, she's starting to research and look for grants to get a new library, to build a new library. So she reached out to me to ask, when she saw that prime piece of real estate for sale down there, to ask if the school district had any interest in selling that to the city at a cut rate price. And what I said was, well, I'll present that to the board because that's their decision. But what I told her was, most likely we would be more apt to offer up the strip mall side when that became available, when we're done with the gym and we're done down at Washington. But I said, she asked what the price was, so I gave her the price. Said we're selling it for 200,000 is what it's listed at. And I said, I don't know that the board would be interested in that, although we do like working with the city. So I said the strip mall, when it comes available, would be more, would probably make more sense for that anyway, because it comes with the parking lot as well. And she said that's always been her dream, to build a library there on the strip mall part. But she was worried about tearing the strip mall down and the asbestos. I said, well, if you're tearing it down, don't worry about the asbestos. Yeah, there's a little more expense, but not much. That's easy to manage, and then you have that property. So I said, I would present it to you guys, being the purveyor of it, to give you that FYI, but I said most likely that's not going to be something we're going to look at least right now. So anyway, that's all I'm doing, just presenting that to you.
Can you tell you, wearing my city councilor hat, that this is not coming from city council, nor will the money to fund the library come from city council. We do have an issue with the library, and we have floors separating from walls because of book weight. We've asked to cull the number of books that we have. We'll see where those efforts lead. I'm not against the idea of a library in a different location, but like I say, it's not coming from the city. That funding would have to come from a grant, and that's not going to happen right away. So there you go.
Fed just cut the rates again, so maybe that property might want to move.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping
Yeah,
for,
right.
yes.
Yeah.
All right.
That makes historic districts, too.
Yeah.
It is.
Maybe it's a little high, right?
How are they able to remodel First Park?
What?
How are they able to remodel First Park?
It technically doesn't fall into the same constraints. It's about the only thing that doesn't fall into the constraints of the historic district. It does a little zag around it. Yeah, I know.
And that is accurate, because when we were looking at the reader board, we were talking about putting it outside the historic district, so we didn't have to deal with all of that stuff.
Right.
It's not a nice big rectangle.
It's not. So we jump, I guess, to 8.14. Did we miss the ones in between?
Yep.
Grant request.
You got those three out there.
Yeah.
That was your grant request from Mr. Kaiser, our FFA. He was asking for a grant to fund the podcast equipment for our ag leadership class podcast. Seems to be the new up and cool thing for ag department, so.
Something different.
Yeah.
Like that. All right. It's pretty straightforward.
And as, you know, you guys like more than anything, it says, does the grant obligate the district in any way? No, it does not. So if they get the grant, they'll buy the equipment. It's not like we have to match it or pay the money for it, so.
Okay. All right, let's move along to action items. So, public comment.
I don't know if you want it right now.
I'm not sure what they're gonna say.
I
Sorry,
do
public
have some.
comment regarding agenda items.
I just want to address the board. Please back your administrators on tough kiddos.
Yeah.
Do anything that you possibly can, because I think it's pretty rough out there. And I actually have a very good story. I mean, I think these administrators and staff have done a lot for me and my family. So thank them. Figure out what they need.
Thank you. Is there anything else?
Anything from the cheap seats?
All right, action items. 10.1, the SIA grant. We just need.
Entertain a motion to accept it.
Okay.
Approve it. Approve
Make a
it.
motion that we approve the SI grant.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That passes. 10.2, the grant request that we just saw for the podcast equipment for the FFA. I'd entertain a motion to approve that grant request.
Make a motion to approve the grant request for the podcast. Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, let's take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That passes. And finally, 10.3 policies. So I guess this would be a motion to approve the policies as reviewed and revised.
So recommended and
Yeah, that would be the other question. Are we going with recommended and optional? Is that what we normally?
Well, if you guys go with the, so if you go with this, overview that I did, I gave the recommendations of, yes, we should adopt this, or no, we shouldn't. If that's how you adopt them, then they'll go off of those. That's what it says in there. So the ones that we said are optional and we don't need them, we won't adopt. And the ones that I said, I highly recommend this one. You go off of that, and those are the ones we adopt, which is, I want to say it's almost all of them.
wasn't there some of the bracketed choices, superintendent, principal, and board?
So what I put in there is what I recommended that we went with. So if anytime, I guess I'm sorry, I should have said that at the beginning, but anything you want to change on it, those are my recommendations of, like when it was said superintendent, but I felt like it was a building thing level that needed to be a principal or any of those. That's how I went. I went with what I felt like made the most sense for what our processes currently are. For who those are.
Okay, so on the budget committee, highly recommend any that you put in, or anything that you highlighted or changed, just as a for instance, would be your recommendations.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
okay.
Leaving the motion as recommended.
Been recommended and adopted.
Recommended, discussed, and approved. Or approved priority test.
Well, second.
And then you gotta read off any one of those.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, well, let's vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, the policies pass.
I did hear, at the law conference, they said that, normally, because at the beginning, they get up and 5 or 6 different lawyers give a little spiel about different educational stuff, and the policy guy, Spencer Lewis from OSBA, said there's normally a big pile in January. They are not putting out a January pile because of the short session. They feel like there's 5 or 6 things that are going to happen in the short session that are going to address some policies that be out. So we would be doing the same thing, turning around and redoing it. So they're skipping that one. Good, except this means the next one will probably be bigger.
So next Christmas will be even better.
Before Christmas. June, July, June. Probably. Anyways, that's all we got.
Okay. Upcoming meeting input.
Every time I say I'm gonna write it on there and, so I'm gonna look at next meeting.
Really?
Yep.
You really?
Yeah.
January 14th. Happy birthday, Darren.
We'll see. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll bring gifts.
Hey, milestone.
It's not just School Board Appreciation Month, it's Darren Bainbridge's birthday. If you wouldn't want a board meeting on your birthday, at least there's full policies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got nothing.
All right.
Yep.
Good to the order.
I guess for the good of the order, I would echo what Andy said. Our staff are amazing. They are doing just a massive amount of great work, and for the difficult kids that we have right now, we've had plenty of those difficult kids that we have turned into great kids, that we've turned into just fantastic kids that have graduated, and in some cases graduated with honors. In some cases have really turned things around. It's not always. Some of them we don't, but I'd say the bulk of them have a big success rate. It's just becoming more and more difficult, and it is wearing on the staff. And staff is stressed, union is uptight. It's just it's in a hard place right now.
What can we do to help? I mean.
I don't have a great answer. I mean, we can kick that around and talk about it a little bit at admin, maybe.
No, I'm all for helping if you can. I just.
No, I know. Like I said, I know it sounds simple. It sounds silly, but an email from you guys that goes out to the staff, just talking to them, just supporting them and telling them how much you do appreciate all the things that they do, and you know how difficult it is. Those kind of things, they do mean a lot. Those just that little bit of pat on the back.
So, back a little bit, kind of about that, some teachers were standing in the hallway this afternoon talking about their doors and how they could get a vote on it. And they were like, oh, we'd love more connection with the board. Maybe we should include them on the voting. They can, at least we can take pictures and they can see our doors, or they can come walk through. So they were talking about trying to connect.
Yeah, and we'll reach out to you with a window of time. So
Yeah,
it'll work with your schedule.
It's for you guys. It can be anytime. We're there, well, Monday is our music performance, but Wednesday we have the after school program, so we'll be there late if it's easier later in the afternoon.
It's better, better.
I mean, I don't know if we have to all be there at the same time.
No.
Okay, I don't think so. I didn't come. I would say probably any time between now and that Wednesday night, if you just have time to drop in.
You're welcome.
Check into the office. Or you want to do it.
School day.
I think during the school day is fine.
And you can see us in action.
I will say, and
Might scare me.
there's no mind. I laughingly said it when I first got hired as a teacher. I'm like, why would I ever want a school board member in my room? That would freak me out. I'd be thinking that I've done something wrong and they're in here looking at me. But then as I progressed through my career, it's like, I would love to have board members come in. I've had a few that over the years that have walked around and popped in on the school day and just say hi with a smile on your face. You get to see the teachers in action. You get to see what's going on with the kids. And yes, some teachers will be a little uptight because they'll instantly, teachers are perfectionists. That's how they live. They're always, worrying about how to get better and worrying about what might go wrong. But I think that is huge. So appearances in the building are always welcome. And I think that goes a long way. It's just that pat on the back. Good job. It's always helpful.
And coffee trailer.
And I can also say from experience, donuts play as well. So anyway, I think any appreciation, but I guess just it's work. Staff is amazing, and we are very, very lucky to have them, and are doing very, very difficult work with good students.
Yes.
With good students too.
Any other announcements this evening? Besides Darren's birthday? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. I know it was a long one.
I know.
Oh, sorry.